Welcome back. It's Otter PR Scaling Secrets podcast with very special guest, Mr. Rocco Cozza from CozzaLaw.com. That's COZZALAW.com. The Cozza Law Group provides legal representation to small to large enterprises, entrepreneurs, and professionals. We're talking musicians, actors, artists, and business, sports, entertainment, in corporations, asset protection, and so much more. So we're going to hear from Mr. Rocco Cozza himself with over 21 years of experience as a trusted legal partner, how he helps passionate entrepreneurs and business owners and visionaries bring their ideas and plans to life by taking the complexity out of business and the law. Sounds amazing, sounds exciting, sounds like what we need. So, Mr. Rocco, glad to be speaking with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. And so we gave you a cool introduction, right? Hyped you up. But what am I missing? What has you currently passionate, excited, just, jumping out of bed in the morning?
Actually, scaling my own firm is really what I spent. I came out of law school and I worked in big law. And then I went in-house and I was general counsel of an IT firm for 14 years. Didn't anticipate being there that long. And I resigned from that position in the beginning of 2018 to kind of just consult with them. I was doing some other stuff, speaking, had a couple other businesses. I actually started the firm July 1st of 2019, intending to be a solo practitioner. Wasn't intending to grow a large firm. And then over the years, we're 5 years in, we've been growing 50% year over year for the past 4 years. We have 12 employees now. So that's really what I'm passionate about, scaling my own firm, and then also helping other businesses scale. But that's truly what gets you up in the morning.
And so this whole idea of either being on solo or scaling, that's definitely a decision to be made. And so why did you go that route? Why did you plan one thing, do another?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I came out of corporate, I knew I had to make X amount of money to maintain my lifestyle. I said, okay, if I run a solo firm, I can have what's called a lifestyle business, right? I can make enough money to live the life I wanted, but didn't have all the problems that come with running a large organization. So that was 2019. Then COVID happened in 2020. That's when I saw opportunity. Because I watched a lot of law firms in the market. They started playing defense. They were cutting associates. The partners were hoarding work. I started seeing just a better way to serve clients. So I said, let me see what I can do in this market. And I went after a few large clients that I thought were out of my wheelhouse. Ended up landing a couple of them. And then the growth just started happening. Hired my first full-time associate, had my assistant, and then we just kept growing. So the decision was kind of made on the fly. Like, I intended to have this lifestyle business, but when the opportunity presented itself, I just took advantage of it and I just ran with that. And our goal now is in 10 years to get to 100 lawyers.
Very cool. And those are the best kinds of decisions, right? The ones that sort of present themselves to you. It's an opportunity. You say, this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I'm really going to go for it with the awareness that there's more problems and maybe more stress, and maybe it requires you to be kind of more organizational and have different skill sets, like be a people person. But that's just from me on the outside looking in. And so what would you say have you had to learn and figure out being on this scaling track?
Yeah, one, I had to learn that I can't do everything. You have to bring in you got to have the right team of people around you. That's first and foremost. Two, it was harder than I thought it was going to be. As a lawyer representing businesses and work with businesses, I kind of knew what to do. When you're running your own organization, it's a lot different. And I've had to learn a lot of things. The biggest challenge is really making sure you have the right people in the right seats, like doing the right things. Because everybody we bring on, we have an amazing team of people. Now we're just kind of formulating it to make sure they're all doing the right things for their skill sets. And that's a constant evolution along the way. That's always changing, even as the lawyers, right? Not even the admin staff, it's lawyers in general. Am I practicing the right types of law? Are my associates doing the right things for their skill sets? So it's a constant educational process, growing and scaling a firm.
Very cool. And it's a fun topic, right? This idea of, one person can't do all the work, so we need to have the right people, and they need to be a right fit, and they also need to grow with the company. And that means that we have to communicate and have emotional intelligence and
Yes.
demonstrate leadership and all these different things, because we've all been in some kind of environment where there's that one difficult person and then seven other people in their orbit have to like walk on eggshells around them, and it's like an unnecessary amount of work, and it
Yes.
slows down the growth of the business. So can you just tell us about some of your leadership insights? Like, what do you wish you knew going in about having the right people and right fit and growing with you and all those other things?
I mean, so what you just said is probably the biggest learning lesson I had is one person, if they're a little off, can impact the entire culture of the organization. And sometimes, I'm an optimist by nature, so I always want to look for the best in people. And I want to give people chances, and I want to keep trying to help them because I see things inside people. Sometimes they're just the wrong fit, and it's taken me in a couple instances a little bit too long to figure that out, and it's caused some impact, along the way that we had to adjust from. So that, as a leader, that's been something over time I'm learning to look at a lot more closely. We finally defined our core values as an organization, and so to hire someone, they have to fit our three core values, which we didn't have when I started. When we started going this, we were just hiring people that seemed to be the right fit, but we weren't really testing them to see if they actually were. That's been the biggest insight for me, is as understanding what our values are, what we value as a firm, and then the people we bring in, do they exhibit those values?
I love that. And that's that whole idea of the core values that comes up a lot in this podcast with different guests. And I think it's, at least in my brain, I need to keep on revisiting it just to
Yeah.
really get that dug in. And it's also a helpful reminder that so many companies and websites, they have these values stated publicly because it's what they live by. And
Hmm.
so that's definitely an opportunity for us. If we say, well, I want to better my best, up my game, you can look at other people's websites and dig in and see what their values are, and even and all kinds of levels, right? Your
Yeah.
competitors, your peers, but also see what like Nike and Apple and Microsoft are doing. And so what are those three core values you mentioned at the Cozza law firm?
Yeah. So our first one is, the first one, you have to be a good human being, meaning you have to be kind, you have to be empathetic, and you have to just treat people the right way, because we're in a relationship business. So we're in relationship with all of our clients, with all of our partners, employees. So you've got to exhibit the qualities of just being a good human being. That's first and foremost. The second one is you have to have the entrepreneurial spirit. That does not mean you have to be an entrepreneur. It just means, because not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur, right? They're not going to take the risk. They have to be able to think outside the box, think about creative solutions. I always say, ask for forgiveness, not permission. I'd rather you take chances and just go for it than, obviously always asking for permission. Then the third one is be willing to get dirty. And that means you're not above or below any work. I always use the example of, I'm in the kitchen washing the dishes. I'm not above anything. And if I'm the managing partner and founder of the firm, no one that's below me should be above anything. And if you exhibit those three values, those people will be very successful in our organization.
And how do you land on sort of pillars like that? Like you hear about people saying things like, talk to the customers, talk to the other employees, but then it can be really a struggle of like getting it less than 10, or saying, well, we could talk about all these other things. So how did you land on those three ideas specifically?
Yeah, we were going through the if you're familiar with the EOS process, we started
Oh
going
yeah.
through that about a year ago. And that's really when in our first discovery meeting, we really went through a deep dive of what makes us tick as a firm. Like, why do people like to work with us? Why have we grown so quickly? Why, when the average law firm is growing 8 to 10% a year, we're growing 40 to 60% year over year. Like, why is that? And I started, we dug deep, internally. We asked customers, we asked clients, we asked referral partners, and it all kind of revolved around, you guys are just good people. You're always willing to help. It's not about the money. You think creative. So all these things kind of really imparted those three values. And that's how, when we sat there and dissected them, it took us about a 4 or 5 hour process to think through it all and come up with them. But when we put them up on the board, it was like a light bulb went off. Like, that's what it takes. If you have to have those three things.
Wonderful. And so it's important to get everyone's heads together and ask the right question and have
Yeah.
this kind of obsession and focus. And it's always fun talking to someone in the legal profession like yourself, because it seems like there's always like insane amounts of work, right? And you always hear these stories about how like if a period is in the wrong
Yeah.
place in like an 800-page document, someone goes to jail or something like that. And so
Yeah.
can you tell me about the lawyer work ethic and like what it takes to have that present awareness and focus and dedication and like goal setting? Like, how do we learn from someone like you?
Yeah, to be a good lawyer, to be a great lawyer, I would say one, you've got to be a problem solver. So I would say all we do is solve problems. I don't need to know all the laws, right? I just need to know how to figure out what's going on. So you've got to be able to, the first skill you have to be successful is listening. Like you have to be an active listener. Like I will sit there with a client for an hour. I may say 10 words in that hour, but I'm listening and I'm dissecting what's going on because they may come in here thinking they have one problem, but because I'm listening and asking the right questions, I find five other things that they should be thinking about or that are wrong that need fixed. So first and foremost, you got to be a good listener and ask good questions. Two, you do have to have a work ethic, right? Because being a lawyer, it's a 24/7 job. It's not a 9 to 5. Clients call us around the clock. We've got to be accessible. We've got to be willing to put in the time and put in the work. And I mean, I've been doing this 20 plus years and I still, work like crazy, but I love what I do. So I don't consider it work. And third is there's two types of lawyers. There's ones that are the big picture thinkers, which is more of me. Then there's the detail oriented lawyers, right? So you can be one or the other. I'm the big picture thinker, so I have the detail oriented lawyers that work with me to kind of oversee certain things. So I think if you get too caught up in the details as a lawyer, you miss things, or you over lawyer stuff, or you overcharge clients. So I always just try and get to practical solutions. That's what I think sets our firm apart from other firms because we don't. I'm not going to send a client a 10-page memo to cover myself. I say if I'm making the decision, giving you advice, I'm going to own that decision. And if I end up being wrong, that's on me. I'm not going to write you a memo to say, well, here's what I think, but here's the 10 other things that can go wrong. It's not my fault if it does. That's just not how I operate.
Okay, so you're the visionary and you have your integrators
Yep,
to balance you out. And I
exactly.
think that's a really helpful insight with this whole entrepreneurial lifestyle. It's like when you're a kid, you're in school, they say, oh, be well rounded. And if you're weak in these areas, improve that. And now that we're adults, it's like, well, hey, you can hire other people to fill in the gaps and you should be strengthening your strengths and leaning more into that. And since this is a podcast, it's always fun to hear about just amazing, interesting stories. So
Yeah.
does anything come to mind as far as this journey you've been on? Have you ever been in a situation where you like felt like giving up or were panicking or stressed or anything like that come to mind as far as like it's not for every day, but as far as like a story, as far as you on your transformative journey?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there was, well, I can give you one in particular, which was just super strange. So I turned 40 in 2017. My grandmother passed a little bit after I turned 40 in August. She passed in December, and I quit my job that following March. This all happened, and then I was going through this process for like the next year, and I was never. I knew I had to make X amount to support my family. And I was always coming up short, maybe a little bit over, a little bit short, and I was really close to giving up. Like I said, okay, I'm going to start looking for a job. I don't know if I can do this. And then two things happened. One, I was working with a business coach, I still work with to today, and he said to me, stop focusing on the money. Just focus on being the best lawyer you can be. He said, don't worry about the money. Just be really good at what you do. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I met this woman. This is a crazy story. She reached out to me through one of these like business networking apps. She wanted to meet at a Panera to talk about this business she had. It was a business lawyer. So I went to meet her. It was some Amazon business. But she came in and she was also a tarot card reader, which was crazy to me. And she said, she's like, you have this energy. Do you mind if I read your tarot cards? She sat down, she read my tarot cards, and basically kind of told me everything that had happened up to that point in my life, which was odd. And then pulled out this card that was basically saying, you're on the right path, and someone's watching over you, like my grandmother or something. And then for some reason, that moment shifts everything for me. I never heard from that woman. She walked out of that Panera after that moment, never heard from her again, never saw her again. It was just like this person just came into my life for this 20 minutes that totally changed the trajectory for me. And it was those two moments are really what kept me on this path. And then, it's been just upward since then.
I love it. And we all have moments like that, but we don't realize until later that like, hey,
Yeah.
I think about that. And you might and 20 years from now, when you're turning 70, you'll be thinking back
Right.
to when that sort of happens. And so
Yes.
that's great to think about that all these moments are important and it's important to be aware and alert and open to these opportunities. And so,
Yeah.
you're on this path, you said earlier, of
Hmm.
getting to 100 lawyers. And
Yeah.
so tell us about some of the adventures in scaling this company.
Yeah. I mean, so one, we just opened an office in Nashville, Tennessee. So that was a big opportunity for us there, I believe. So, I do work in the entertainment space. So I got licensed in Tennessee in 2022, and we just opened an office here in the Springs. I've been down there a couple of times this past summer, meeting people, trying to hire some people down there, which has been huge. And I think just the growth in and of itself is going to be fun because we're licensed in a bunch of different states. We're looking at other states to move into to actually put a physical presence. And it's like putting a puzzle together, right? You have to be strategic. You have to think about where all the pieces fit. But it's also, I know it's going to be the hardest thing I do because I always say what got us here won't get us there. So I know all the stuff we get up to this point got us here, but it's not going to get us to that next level. Like I have to become a different person to be that person that could run a person law firm. So it's a constant evolution. I'm trying to better myself every day as a leader, as a lawyer. I'm also trying to shift from doing less of the work to working more on the business, which I think is every entrepreneur struggle. But I'm really in that phase right now where I got to figure out over the next 2 years if we're going to get to that next level.
Right. And a lot of like counterintuitive tasks or delayed gratification, such as being on a podcast like this, right? You don't
Yeah.
see immediate results, but you get on the SEO and you
Yeah.
get the PR buzz and the
Yeah.
YouTube
I
and all
love
that.
stuff like
But
this, though. This is
but
great.
then, yeah, and it's fun, but I'm sure there's I'm sure there's a lot of business owners out there who's like, oh, I don't have time for that, right? I don't
Yeah.
have time for networking or for LinkedIn. And there's someone like you saying, well, hey, I'm looking towards the future and I'm trying to fit it all in. And what you're talking about, like, I think about that kind of thing every day. Like, how
Hmm.
can I better myself and what kind of person will I have to be a year or two from now to get those year or two from now types of results? And I love the puzzle analogy, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, well, do I work on the corners? Do I work on the hard pieces, the easy pieces? And it kind of like, it like works the brain because you do all kinds of like shifting and powering through and
Exactly.
maybe sometimes doing things a little bit out of order in order to make it all like line up at the end and get that one last little piece
Yeah.
filled in there. And so,
Yeah.
where you're this entrepreneur on a rocket ship and you're opening these multiple locations,
Hmm.
but I've just met you. I don't know all the ins and outs of you. So what should I be asking you? What's the missing hidden question in our conversation? What do you wish I was asking you right now?
I mean, the one thing that I think people always forget to ask me is why I'm doing it. And I always say it's about the legacy. Like I look at it as it's not about money to me. It's not about accolades. It's truly about my kids looking at me one day and saying, "Wow, my dad built this. Built this from scratch." Like I left. I grew up in very modest means. Low income family. Single mom. Worked my butt off through college, put myself through law school. Never thought I was going to own my own. Wanted to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. Never even anticipated it. And then they don't teach you how to run a law firm in law school. I just jumped off a cliff one day and said, I'll figure it out. And I always say, like, I built this out of thin air. And I get this, I get to employ 12 people and I get to work with amazing people. And it truly is. It's about the legacy. It's truly about building something that my kids can look back on someday and say, wow, my dad did this. And that's all. And I want to show them what's possible. Like that's why I do everything I do every day.
I love it. Yeah, to be a good role model, so that way other people will look at that and be like, hey, that random little tip or advice, or like, what would Rocco do in this situation?
Hmm.
That'll help me. And we all have like the committee in our head, right? We think like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm stuck on this problem, or I'm trying to find the motivation. What would
Yep.
Rocco do? Well, hey, he would make some phone calls. He would figure such and such problem out, and that's really helpful. And sort of like the tarot card reader lady, she probably
Hmm.
doesn't even know the effect that she had on you, and
Right.
yet here we are, and she did. And
Yeah.
so now that you're kind of doing all this sort of like
Hmm.
fun stuff with like building the law firm and getting like these people involved, is there anyone on your team that's kind of like remarkable, noteworthy? Like, has anyone like kind of stepped up or done something like really cool, unique, amazing outside the box as far as growing this thing?
I mean, my entire team has made this hard to pick one. I mean, two in particular, my own partner, Matt, who was my first full time lawyer. He left a big firm and took a chance on me. Like he always jokes that when he chose to leave, his wife only cried for 2 weeks. He's like, I came home and told my wife, hey, met this guy named Rocco, going to quit my job and go work with him. So to me, like I appreciate him. He took a chance. I mean, he helped me build this to where it is. And then my assistant Jasmine has been here just over a year. I mean, she's been completely game changing for me, like just helping me get organized, helping the firm get organized, and truly has given me probably 25% more productivity over the past year. So, I mean, the whole team's amazing. But if I had to pick two that stood out over the past year, definitely those two.
Well, nice. And that relates to what you were saying earlier about finding good people, finding the right
Mm-hmm.
fit, and then a lot of the other problems will work themselves out. And so, you're a lawyer and you're driven, you're competitive, and that's the way
Mm-hmm.
it should be. And some of that leads to being aware of your peers and your competitors. And so when you
Yeah.
see these other law firms that are maybe like in your space, your
Mm-hmm.
size, but that it's easy to see from the outside looking in what they may be missing out on, not doing right. What do you think other law firms similar to yours are maybe not taking full advantage of?
I mean, I just think we do things so differently because we don't operate like a business law firm. Like we truly operate like a business that sells legal services. We care about our customers. We do marketing. We do branding. We do sales. Like a lot of lawyers, and I have friends that are in those firms. They think because they're a lawyer, the business will come. Well, running a law firm is just like any other business. You have to get your name out there. You have to market yourself. You have to brand yourself. People have to know who you are, and you have to get into relationship with people. Like too many lawyers, I think, especially in the space we practice in business law, they're very transactional. Like we are not. Like there are many times I will tell a client not to pay me to do something because it's a dumb idea or they don't need to. Like I won't take their money. And there's a lot of lawyers that will take their money to do anything, and that's just not how we operate. So I think it's really about just if you're a lawyer out there looking to start your own firm or in a small firm, if you just treat people the right way, like the way they teach us to treat people in kindergarten, like be kind, be authentic, be real, be honest. It's very easy to be successful in this profession. It truly is.
But it's also easy to try to take shortcuts and to backslide and to kind of
Exactly.
let those evil behaviors come out there. And so you're saying, like, think about kindergarten and think about
Hmm.
being a kind person and have this sort of abundance mindset that if such and such deal doesn't work out, that's okay. There's other deals, there's other people. Well, why try to force something to work when it shouldn't be that way? And
Right.
so yeah, so as far as what you're currently like working on
Hmm.
and doing, like, is there a favorite kind of marketing method that you've been implementing? You mentioned about like promoting the firm.
Yeah.
Do you like making the phone calls? Do you like doing like the Facebook ads, the TV? What do you currently like as far as getting new business?
Yeah. I mean, so 70% of our business comes from referrals. But what I love to do is social media marketing, like my Instagram, TikTok. Like I do a lot of videos on Instagram and TikTok, like the short videos that I love. Like that's the fun stuff. Like doing stuff like this, I love. Like I would, if I could spend my entire week doing podcasts or interviews, I would do that because this is branding and this is marketing to me. So this is the type of stuff I love because I think we're in the age now where these are the types of things people pay attention to. Like traditional TV advertising doesn't work. Traditional advertising is not really working. So we do a lot of Google SEO. We do some Facebook ads, but most of it's just organic social media marketing and podcasts that have gotten us a ton of business.
Well, wonderful. And so just to kind of drop some links mid conversation here,
Yeah,
if someone wanted to see some of this excellent social media work that you're doing, which platforms do you like and where can we find those accounts?
yeah. I mean, my two favorite of mine right now are Instagram and TikTok, and my username on both of them is the Rocco Cozza, all one word. It is Instagram.com/the Rocco Cozza, all one word. Same thing on TikTok.
I love it.
Be
The
active on both
Rocco
of them.
Cozza
Yep,
on Instagram and TikTok. Well,
yep.
great. And so, something that I was curious about when we're talking with other entrepreneurs, it's
Mhm.
important to be curious and to love learning and always be open to new ideas. And these entrepreneurs, they always tell me about like the books that have really helped them or their favorite books. So, what comes to mind to you as far as some helpful books recently or years ago that have really changed your life?
Uh, I will tell you the book that changed my life completely is called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I've read that book every year since I was in my late 20s. And there's one chapter in particular that changed my life. And it talks about accountability. It's a formula, E plus R equals O. And it's an event plus a reaction equals an outcome. And the premise of it is you can always control the outcome in life because you always control one of the variables. You can control the event or how you react to the event. And for some reason, when I heard that in my 20s, it's like, yeah, like I don't have to get mad about something. I don't have to let this upset me. It's the outcome is going to be dependent upon either how I act in a situation or how I react to a situation. And that book has been life changing for me. I think every entrepreneur should read it.
And that's a very excellent idea. It's sort of like the serenity prayer, right? Of like things
Hmm.
happen to you, and sometimes you do need to take an action of it, but many times it's just changing your emotional response or your perception of it, and
Exactly.
it helps to navigate that. And you're not in control of everything in life, but if you kind of can separate those two things and or act accordingly sometimes, react accordingly other times, then you'll have a lot less frustration and a lot more success just knowing what you can or you can't control. And so we've been talking about all sorts of fun things today, haven't we, Rocco? Talk about
Actually, it's been a blast.
the law of business and personal development. So if someone is just super impressed by what you had to say and they say, I want more, I want to find his website, I want to
Yeah.
find his LinkedIn contact information, what's the next logical step for someone?
My website, just cozzalaw.com. You can find everything on me there. My LinkedIn is just, just search my name on LinkedIn. Those are the two places you can get me. The website has all my contact info on there, so anybody can just reach out to me there. I'm always happy to chat with people, give them a second opinion. We never charge for anything like that. And I've had so many people reach out to me from different podcasts just to chat and pick my brain and stuff. And I'm always happy to help.
You're a people person and you're a problem solver, like you said, right?
Yeah.
You practice what you preach. So that's COZZALAW.com.
Yep.
And I know that we said we kind of gave the spiel at the beginning about all the services you provide, the people
Hmm.
you help, but just to kind of make sure at the end here that someone knows, okay, this is exactly me. I need to go and reach out to Rocco Cozza at Cozza Law.
Yeah.
What's kind of the ideal person or what sort of problems should they be having that says, I need to go and talk to Rocco right now?
So really, it's any business owner or entrepreneur. So that's what we're not a consumer law firm. So we don't do family law, criminal law, personal injury. It's anything a business or business owner would need, from starting a company, buying and selling companies, advising on employment issues, IP, litigation. Then we also do estate planning and asset protection. So if you're a business owner and you're worried about any problems in your business or what's going to happen to your stuff, just give us a call. We'd be happy to help.
Very nice. So if that speaks to you, then go to COZZALAW.com. There's a button right there to request that free consultation. And as Rocco said, he loves having the chat, talk about problems, possibilities, what can be done, and give you some ideas as far as some next steps moving forward. And Rocco, we dropped a lot of cool knowledge, and even that E plus R equals O idea from Jack Canfield, it's still rattling around in
Yeah.
my head. But as far as like ending this conversation with a real banger, right? A real
Yeah.
zinger. Do you have any ideas as far as a fun quote or lesson that has helped you that can help us?
Yeah, find your anchor. Like, find your anchor in life. Like I always say, like you have to have something in your life that anchors you. And to me, that's physical fitness. So I always say, like, if like fitness is my anchor that keeps me centered, keeps me stress free, and keeps me energized moving forward. But everybody has to find that one anchor in their life, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because our lives are moving so fast and in so many different directions. And if you don't have that anchor, you can get lost at sea.
I love it. So find your anchor. And, I always have conversations with my wife when I'm like in some kind of stressful situation. And she's like, hey, what can you do to like get your emotional control back? What can
Mhm.
you do to figure out some solutions instead of complaining about problems? So I love that. Find your anchor, whether that's physical fitness or anything else. And in the meantime, go and check out Rocco Cozza's law firm at cozzalaw.com. You'll be glad you did. He'll talk to you. He'll solve your problems. They are agile, efficient, and creative lawyers that are on the forefront of innovation. COZZALAW.com. Rocco Cozza, glad to be speaking with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.